Good morning. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for former things are passed away. Thank you all for joining me. I'm Minister Thomas McBride, and today is March 21st in the year 2024, and I'll be reading you all the daily devotional. And before I get started, I want to thank you all for all the prayers and the condolences. This has been a very difficult time, but I truly believe the prayers of the righteous availeth much. And so you all know, I'll be reading this devotional for the first time with you all. The devotional I read from comes from the Glorify app. I highly suggest that you download it. But let's start off with our inspirational quote. And today, our inspirational quote comes from Desmond Tutu. And it reads, "Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness." Amen. Today, our Bible passage comes from Lamentations chapter 3, verses 21 through 26. And the version I'm going to be reading is the New International Version, but I highly suggest you read the King James. And it reads, "Yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope." Verse 22, "Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail." Verse 23, "They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." Verse 24, "I say to myself, the Lord is my portion. Therefore, I will wait for him." Verse 25, "The Lord is good to those whose hope is in him, to one who seeks him." Verse 26, "It is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord." Amen. May the Lord add a blessing unto the reading and the hearing of his holy word. Many of us will be familiar with the much-loved Christian hymn, "It Is Well With My Soul." But the backstory to this song sheds a powerful light on its hope-filled lyrics. Horatio Spafford, the writer of the hymn, was no stranger to suffering. In the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, Horatio lost most of his worldly wealth and properties. Around the same time, his 4-year-old son died of scarlet fever. Lurching forward in the wake of this tragedy, Horatio thought his family could do with some time away, a rest, a change of place. Planning to join them when his business interests were completed, Horatio watched his wife and 4 daughters board a ship to England, kissing them farewell and waving goodbye as they sailed across the Atlantic Ocean. Horatio would never lay eyes on his daughters again. A terrible collision at sea caused the ship to sink, costing the lives of more than 200 people, including every single one of Horatio's daughters. How do you process such an enormous loss and tragedy? I can only begin to imagine the pain, and for myself, I know the pain. The immense trauma he must have experienced upon hearing the news. Horatio boarded the next ship to England. The great captain, aware of his great tragedy, alerted Horatio when they were passing the spot where his daughters breathed their last breaths. Standing on the bow of the ship, looking down at the raging waves below, the ebbs and flows of the tides, Horatio wrote these words: When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like a sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. Horatio, despite the immense suffering of his circumstance, was deeply held by hope. The hope he had to come to know was supernatural, persuasive, and powerful, reaching through the thick smog of despair and lighting a flare of peace and wellness in his soul, even in his darkest hour. Centuries before Horatio penned his hymn of defiant hope, the author of Lamentation grasped this same supernatural wellness of his soul. He recounts his sufferings and trials, but in the midst of it all, he recalls the goodness of God, and therefore he has hope. Heavenly hope does not diminish or deny or airbrush our earthly sufferings. God knows that we face deep sorrows and pains in our life. But in all of our trials, we have an anchor that can stabilize and sustain us through our darkest days. The defiant hope of the writer of Lamentations and Horatio Sanford can be yours. I pray today you will be filled with hope and that your soul would be well. Amen. Whew, I know that was much needed for me. I don't know about anybody else, but that definitely was much needed. Thank you all for joining me. May God continue to bless and keep you all, is my continued prayer.